Okay, so we have the Castles Crusades demo. We jump in. If you want to jump in as a player, you are more than welcome to jump in. The URL is foundry.skrpg.com for this particular demo.
I'll just watch for now.
All right. So for the CNC system, we're going to start the walkthrough focusing specifically on that. We'll skip a lot of Foundry features and detail simply because there's far better videos on YouTube and other places that cover it. But we have a fancy logo here. Otherwise, it's Foundry Core. What the system provides is the character sheets. Looks like I'm still loading. And the monster sheets. Let me import monsters real quick. So with the character sheet, hopefully everything that is on the PDF character sheets that we all love in person is available here. And there are some things that aren't quite ready. This is an alpha release. But what we're looking for from those that give it a shot and a try, let us know what works. We had already feedback asking that the race be moved up here to the top from hidden back here in the description area. So combat, we utilize a lot of hover text to provide hints or quick reminders. So if you're trying to figure out what kind of a saving throw each stat is for a new player, it has it already coded in. Same for various fields. So to calculate armor class, for example, it has the formula right there ready to go. On the character ability page, the idea here was we put your race, your class abilities, and so if you hover, it gives you a bit of information as to what this actually does, so you don't have to go and open it up and then read unless you really want to. In the future, we hope to get it so you can just click on it and it'll expand out a little summary block. Same will happen with the spells. So you can change what the hover text says. I think this is a pretty cool customization, and probably that will stay moving forward, as it really gives you the ability to add custom notes to anything. At the moment, it only calculates your weight in pounds. We have the Trollord Siege EV value here, but there's no calculations at this time. But again, it does have the hover text. For spells, the similar setup. Everything is supposed to be here. That's the goal with this alpha release. We had everything ready in the fields themselves so that as we grow, it will eventually become similar, but not quite as fancy as, say, the 5th edition was set, where all of these different fields tag and tie to make life really easy when you're rolling through a combat scenario. And again, utilizing hover text. So for folks coming into this, it's not right off the bat intuitive that the edit button is hidden by default. And so we've added in a couple text blocks. And then the last page on the character sheets themselves is the biography and kind of flavor text of the character. If you edit this is almost as big as you want it to be. It comes with pre-formatted options, and you can even, if you're feeling adventurous, go into web code and have fun. But that saves there. Change something so I can actually save using the save button. On the monsters, it's the same setup, simplified. I've already found that I'm missing the saves field. Probably swap this one out. Put the saves up here, so that's ready to go. But as of the middle of August, some known limitations are if you go into modules, some of our absolute favorite Foundry modules from other game systems aren't quite pulling the data through. So on the back end, it doesn't link up directly. That is a future feature that will be fixed. So if there's a module that you like and you really want it to make sure it's operational, give it a try and let us know, so we can get that coded in. And currently today I'm demoing 6 alpha. What's available on the public side is 5 alpha.
Okay. Are you prepared for Foundry version 10 here coming out in a couple of weeks?
As far as I'm aware, yes. I've not seen it cause issues, but before we update the code tag saying it's compatible with 10, we'll make sure everything is there so nothing gets broken. Oh my god, my support's not showing. That's funny. Okay, so that is the goal of the Castles Crusades system. Provide those that use Foundry a character sheet for player characters and a character sheet for monsters / NPCs. In the nearish future, there is going to be a quick start compendium is the keyword in Foundry, a quick start compendium that will allow you to pre-pull Castles and Crusades specific things. So like some of the fields that you saw here on the character abilities, these kind of things will be already there. It is just a drag and drop onto your character sheet. Same for weapons and armor. I would like to point out on the armor, as at the moment as it stands, AC is manually calculated. So in the player's handbook, the chainmail shirt gives you a +4 to AC. So in this case, this character would actually have a 14. Well, actually, hold on. Is that 2? I think that strength comes in on there. Attribute mod. So 16 AC, right?
No, it's going to be 14. He adds Dex to AC.
Ah, gotcha. Yep, that makes sense. I've been playing 5th too much recently, so my brain is in 5th mode. So
he'll add strength to his damage for his hand weapons.
True. That's actually a fair point. At the moment, it will not add the bonus of your strength or dex. That's a known issue. We're working on getting that resolved. So for the javelin, it rolled the straight damage without the bonus. Now, something that I think is pretty cool from a Castle Keeper's perspective, if you ask a player to roll a strength check or save, it will let you know right here in the chat log if it's a prime attribute or not.
Oh, that's good.
So if this person does a dex check, there it shows up as false. Otherwise, for rolling weapon attack, it's going to let the game master know which weapon it was, who rolled it, and then it calculates out the attack correctly for a melee or a ranged attack. Again, the damage is a known issue we're working on. Let's touch on... Wait, what? Hold on. Oh, let's switch to a character who has spells, because fighters don't know spells. That's too much for their stuff. Alright, so casting a spell, our ultimate goal is to get it to show really well here. But the recommendation for those that are getting into this, put the entire spell in the description block, as if otherwise it doesn't show everything that we would like it to see or show me. Eventually that will be very nicely formatted, showing exactly what's there. Right. Same for the first aid spell. So it's got all of the info, and this one does have a roll component, so that will show that it's rolled. One last thing that I want to cover on the character sheet is character hit points. If you go to a negative hit point value, the character sheet absolutely allows that. Let's swap to a dungeon here. So if we bring our character in, drop a couple of characters, maybe add a wolf here. So this fighter is at 25 hit points, whereas this person is at -5. If I try to jump this to -7, it won't update. It'll either leave it at what it was on the sheet, or it will reset to 0. So if you need to, in this Alpha-5 release, show negative hit points, modify the sheet instead of the token.
Okay. And you're going to fix that?
Yes. That one is on that's top priority actually right now. So that should come out in the next release. I think that covers the Castles and Crusades focused things. Did you have any questions?
Nope, not yet.
Fantastic. So the next part is I'm going to do a quick overview of how to go from I have Foundry to I have a CNC world. You're welcome to hang out. Otherwise, this might be a little dry.
Okay.
So, all right. So we are starting out with a bare basic Foundry. I've purchased Foundry off of their website. I've downloaded the software, installed it. In this case, it's on Windows 10. I've added in my license key and accepted the terms of use. This is what I see. There's not a whole lot here. But we're going to add some stuff because this is the cool part. So we're going to go and we're going to add a system. Eventually, you'll be able to type in Castles and Crusades. However, for now, we need the URL, which So, going to, whoops, wrong URL. Let's grab the right URL. All right, so going to our Discord server, pulling the URL in, will grant us Castles Crusades. So we have that installed here, ready to go. If we want to add extra abilities, change how things work, those are under the modules. And I'm pulling this up to show because in the future, if there is a Troll Lord Castles and Crusades book or anything else, those would show up on this side in your install list. So those are separate from systems. So game worlds is where we play our games. This is for each table, virtual table. Is what that signifies. The systems are the rules of the table. And then add-on modules covers everything else. Configuration is really straightforward. It only gets a little exciting if you are adding in SSL certificates. So we don't want to install, we want to create a world. So we're going to title our world test CNC. I'm going to choose Castles and Crusades, and we'll leave everything else blank for now. You can add in some pretty amazing things. We have our world created. When we launch our world, it gives us the welcome screen. This is what everybody will see when they join. And if you provide them with their correct password, you can join. Foundry politely gives you a little hint as to where things are, what they do. If you want some more hints, up here in the gear, you can see the documentation relating to how Foundry works in more detail. The main toolbar here in the upper corner controls most of the game. So here's our chat and our history of roles. Then we have combat if there is an active encounter. Scenes is our battle maps where you can configure things on the map. Actors cover any player, NPC, or monster. Items is a generalized term that covers everything that lives on like an actor or is part of it. So spells, abilities, features, and other types, weapons, armor, all of those are items. Journals. Journals is all of the notes, both for the game master and the players. When you create a new journal entry, it pulls up everything here. You can set up things that are handouts where you can show the players. You can attach an image to it with a text behind if that matters in this instance. And it supports folder structures too. And again, when we edit the content, it has a bunch of pre-formatted visual improvements ready to go. Let me close that for now. On our role tables, if you have a encounter where it's a random encounter, they're traveling across the wilderness, you want to know what kind of animal they might find, here's a role table. Another role table would be what kind of loot do you have for this? And so you can add items to this roll table, or monsters to the roll table, or define your own things. Card stack, that's a new feature that adds literal cards for games that require a card function, or a handout type thing. Music, Foundry supports ambience and playlists and a bunch of other fun immersive effects. You can, with your Foundry license, you get access to, I have those installed right now, you get access to free music and playlists ready to go out of the gate that cover most general situations. Finally, we have our compendiums. So in Foundry with Castles and Crusades, eventually we'll have a quick start that will provide some light rules, a few character races and classes, and a short little adventure that's there. So when the system is installed, you have everything needed to run. I think a 023 is the tentative target. That's the upper right, so we're going to hide that for now. So you can hide it, it goes over there. On the left is our main tools. So we have token controls that adjust players, monsters, measure different templates and settings. Let's get a test scene here created. All right, so we can measure different effects for spell templates or gauging movement. Tile control, this is where you can take a empty tavern and add in your own tables, chairs, bars, people, objects as stackable items. It gets really creative. Drawing tools just let you draw random items and whatever you need to add to the map. It's there. Walls. There are different types of walls. Walls restrict tokens by default. Terrain allow you to see through it. And it will only allow you to see through the first wall, but it will block you at the second wall. For invisible walls, these are great for restricting token movement. Players will be able to move their tokens by themselves, and sometimes that can be disadvantage to the story. And so you can put in an invisible wall or even a secret door. So if we wanted to put a secret door here to stop the tokens, the players, from being able to progress forward until we are ready for them to move, which I'm going to cover this big game pause that's been here for the longest time. That freezes everybody. That stops your players instantly. So if you hit the space bar, it allows them to move their tokens. If you need to stop for story time, you can hit pause, and that freezes player access to their tokens. They can still move the map, they can still measure things, they just can't move their tokens for vision and such. So there's standard doors, and then we can copy things around, and using these create a very dynamic map. Lighting. Lighting allows us to create ambient light for our tokens. If you'll notice, this one is automatically cut to the wall I drew. So that is a solid wall, so the light is only shining where the wall is. So there's no wall up and down here, so it's passing through, but it was stopped by this this wall here. And it calculates things out really good, and you can turn the light off and on. And the last two, the music is ambient music. So let's say I had a fireplace. I could put fireplace sounds only for this part of the room. And so as a player token walks over to this particular point in the room, they'll hear a fire, and then as they walk away, it goes away. Again, a great immersion tool. And the last one is the journal notes tag. So I can go and I can drop a pin on the map, linking it to a particular journal note. So that way, while I'm playing, I can quickly place a journal entry right where I need it so I can read the description for that room itself. And the top will list any maps that you've created here across the top. Same as the bottom shows individual players. It will show camera if you have the audio video turned on. And these hotbars are for character abilities. I'm actually going to pause at the moment and pull up something that's more detailed than the empty box. Alright, so now we have an actual map. So here at the top is the various maps that we have available. Foundry is really cool with dynamic lighting, dynamic sounds, and even dynamic maps. So you can load up a video as your map background. It will play the sound of from the video or the background itself. And we can even add walls on top of this, and we can add lights and extra sounds as well. So here are some slight quality of life items. When a player joins your game, they'll be prompted to set their name, set their color as it shows down here in the lower left corner, and if they have permission that you have blessed them with through character configure permissions, you can assign ownership to a specific character. If they've missed that step or want to change it, they can right-click their name down here in the lower left and select user configuration, which allows them to set their avatar, their color, and then choose that character that they want to run. As the game master, you can pick the monsters. The other thing is when you're describing your story, you're setting up the scene. In this case, we have a tower entrance. The characters are approaching it. I want to make sure that everybody joins at the same time. So I can click this preload scene button. It gives me a load bar. And when it hits 100%, I know every player now has the scene ready. So when I click activate, it activates exactly as I say, allowing the continued immersion. And what's another tip? If you get excited with all of the music and the ambience and the volumes, your master controls are here, and you can just turn things off if you don't want to hear them. And this is a player controlled bar. So as a game master, you can set the initial volume. Players get to decide what the final volume is. And there are a lot of free sound options already loaded into Foundry as part of your license purchase. In Foundry, there's some simple controls to finish this out. If you've selected something, You are now in control of that, and this is really awesome until you want to do something different. The default deselect is left click on the mouse to highlight somewhere else. If you right click an object, it gives you a quick pop-up menu. The upper left is configurable to whatever you want. It default signifies height of the token. The gear lets you modify details about the token specific to this. If it's a character, it will modify in equivalent to the character sheet. If it's a monster, it will only modify that exact token. In combat, there are targeting abilities. You can specify that this is a target. If it's a hidden token, so as a game master, if you're wanting to keep something a surprise to the players, this visible state shows. Status effects, there are a bunch of status effects here available that are generic effects that may apply in detail to Foundry Castles of Crusades edition. I personally don't know, but they're pretty cool. Gives you an idea. If there's a spell that's happening constantly, you can throw up that somebody's concentrating on something, and it shows right here in the upper corner of the token. Last, if this token is in combat, you can toggle the combat state, which then adds it to the combat tracker. Notice again that status effect is now here in the list. When we roll initiative, it is 1d10 flat as written in the player's handbook, and it will automatically put the highest number at the top so that you can then begin combat and work your way through the initiative order. Let's see, an additional housekeeping item. As a game master, castle keeper, if we have various windows open, we're trying to balance and manage a bunch of different things here. We have a lot of stuff we're tracking based on the game. If you're limited to one monitor or otherwise space limited, the default way to make this a little smoother is to double click the title bar. If you double click the title bar, it will collapse it down to an individual state. And you can actually drag these into a list here, pop it open when you're done. Note, it did jump it, so if it physically moves, it will jump that up to the top, like you saw with notes on this. We can also color code things to kind of do some quality of life improvements. We can configure this folder, and we can change its color. Let's make the monsters a reddish color. So clicking update and save is very important. We can update that to there. For our pre-mades, we're going to choose a light blue color for our pre-made characters. And then for our regular players, we'll give them a deep green. So now I've got this nice color code, so as the game master I can quickly get to what I need. The same thing happens with the folders in our scenes, so we don't have to worry about this big long list. We can collapse it down to individual settings. And again in our notes as well. Before I leave, we'll add one last thing here. I'm going to open up this Cass Greystone character. Cass has the Callan's Bane longsword that he earned, we can actually take any rollable field. Okay. So this, if I click this picture, nothing shows up in chat. Okay. But if I click this character abilities and the special ability, that shows up here in chat. Same for spell, so those showed up in chat. Now what's cool is I can take this and I will eventually be able to drag it to my action hotbar. I can't quite do that right now at this moment in time. Oh, I was selecting the wrong spot. That was the operator error. It's late, I'm tired, I'm sorry. Alright, so I can quickly drag and drop items that my character will use frequently. So if I was a player in this game, I could drag and drop each of my attacks here, and literally I can push the 1 key on my keyboard, and this character has now rolled a longsword attack. Okay. Same with the spells here. As a game master, I can do the same. If we need to get rid of it, we just drag it off into oblivion. As a game master, I can also do the same for a specific scene, or if I have a common attack from a creature. So for my wolf bite, or an alpha, things aren't exactly working as we want them yet, but I'll be able to rapidly drop in actions for each scene. So for a map of this little mini dungeon here, and I've got 3 different monster types, I could literally put the action for those 3 different monster types in this bar, and then for the next scene, when I go to, say, my tower entrance, I could put different actions here on a different bar and then cycle through as needed. Rolling individual rolls, I click the dice. If I have dice like So Nice or other 3D dice prepped, otherwise it's /roll 4d6 plus 4 if I wanted to roll something. And I can also decide if it's public, private, or otherwise. Or if I hit too many, I can delete something out. This concludes the very broad Foundry overview. There are far better ones on YouTube. I encourage those who are interested to click everything, try everything, decide what you want, where as you configure Foundry. It is a fantastic platform as long as everyone in the game, their computer is strong enough to handle Foundry. Thank you. Have a good day.